Hello everyone, Ito here and welcome back to another week of this Minecraft series. And this week is going to be different because, to be honest, I don't have that much time. I have been spending most of my time working on my role-playing game in real life. I got a couple of testing sessions and it went kind of really good, but it required me for going into kind of at the design table one more time, mostly because I needed to redesign some systems and some of my things are coming really cool way together. So yeah, I don't have that much time to play here. So instead, what we are going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my game, but we are going to do it by doing this. So I got with me here a crystal that we are going to run. And you will see because right now I'm into my road for kind of completing all of my knowledge. I want to get all of these done. And as you can see, I need 42 here, 7, but this is going to be upgraded like 6. Also, I need these ones here in the 10s. This one is 26 plus the miner, which everything is going to be unlocked after the mechanism. So I'm expecting a lot of these guys. And of course, we are going to be running with this. So 6 mushrooms, 7 leading, 4 negatives. I'm going with also a Wender Horclass and the Lucky Goose. So I'm expecting to have plenty of the skill charts, but we shall see later on. So I'm going to tell you about my own game, and yeah, let's do it that right now. So you are going to notice here that this vault is going to be a fast run, and not because I'm doing it super fast, it's mostly because I needed to speed this up, otherwise it's going to be super long. And yeah, I don't have that much time for editing. As I told you, I was busy with the stuff. So what I did here is pretty much going all the way back to the end, because I haven't done Architect Vaults in a while. I believe I was told like it was like um 12 minutes per run or something around that at max, but I think I'm going to be used like 6 minutes for each, so probably if you are new, consider like 8 to 10 minutes per room. And I think at least for a starter, maybe for the starter room, you need a little bit more, but maybe it's also depending on what actually room you are doing. But in my case, I just consider 12. And yeah, this was kind of a pretty much enough, so now I'm going to start looting on the way back. But let me tell you about my game. So my game is a high fantasy setting. That means the magic is going to be overflowing in the world and it's going to be important. That means it's going to be high fantasy, so everything is going to be more magical than normal fantasy. And the setting in itself, it's in the land of Hinomoto, which are inspired from the Japanese Sengoku era, the Japanese feudal kind of a part of the history. But I'm going to make it more broad, more open in terms of enabling more these fantasy settings. So instead of being only like Japanese setting, it's actually going to be more like ancient feudal setting. So it's going to be, of course, with a lot of magical themes, but in a ancient way or ancient style. So you are going to see some characteristics over there in the future, because right now I'm focusing, and this was part integral of my testing, in the combat system. I actually like to organize my different type of systems and testings in core part of the whole mechanics. And in this case, we are still working into the last, I would say, stage of the combat, or one leg of the combat. The combat got 3 legs, each type defined by the profession mostly, that actually kind of shining in that regard. So I got the Hime, which are the diplomats, in hold of the social, what in D&D, for example, are called the social encounters. In my case, it's actually part of the same, but it's something that most of the time I feel in the role-playing games is really neglected or poorly designed. Because of course, making mechanics for social interactions, it's always tricky to make when for most of the people this is something that is more natural. But I think it's because the concept in itself is wrong. It's not like you need to make rules or mechanics for our social interactions, but mostly actually you need to make the social part of the conflict, of the tensions, interactive in a sense that you are going to be using mechanics for that, you know? So yeah, that's kind of a whole another topic, and that's for later. But that's going to be one leg of the system. The other one, which is going to be worked at the end, is actually the magic in itself, and this is why telling you before that it's an ancient team with a high fantasy setting was important, is because I'm not going to have the classic D&D mage where you are the person who holds the power in itself. You are actually going to receive blessings by the kami, the gods in the world that are in every single thing. They are going to give you their blessing for actually you channel then later on the magical energies. And then it's kind of this is important because of course it's going to be shaped by religion. We are going to have two main of them, and it's not going to be really kind of horror thing that is going to be annoying or bothersome. It's actually going to be more about the style and the play style that you are going to have. Akin to, for example, how Paladin it's in D&D more tied to their bows. So actually, it's a character more kind of a constraint into their own playstyle because it's kind of a had made certain bows and it's kind of intended to be played in a certain way. In my case, for the Kinto, they are roaming the land, exorcising evil creatures, and kind of keeping the balance into the world in between the mystical energies and the impact into the world. And for the Bukyo, they are going to be roaming the land, healing the people, kind of taking care of the human part of the society, not so much of the mystical realm. But of course, also they are going to be the other magical religions, so they are going to have magical powers and stuff like that. So, yeah, this is kind of a big topic in itself. But the thing that I was testing this whole week is one of the last stages on the Buchi, which are actually the warriors or the martial class. And of course, since this is a feudal society filled with war and with politics and strategy and stuff like that, yeah, this is a big core component. And also, it's actually the most simple and straightforward one. So I like to start with some clear concept and then I can develop further. So my roadmap right now in terms of the combat system is actually the Buchi. Then we go with the Hime, the diplomats, and then we end up with the Chuhenya, which are going to be the mages. A little bit of a mixture in between these two because with magic you are going to being able to deal damage like the martial classes, but also have different type of I would say cinematic effects, like you can react to different things that happen in the scenario um, by using your kind of traps, your diplomat's knowledge, and so on and so on. So, what we was testing here, and let me pull out my notes for that. So let me guide you through the character creation because that's something that is actually done, I would say. I mean, it is not everything done in terms of every single little mechanic there, but I got most of them drafted already. I have tested them out, and all of them just need kind of a more working and polishing, so I think we are good there. So first of all, you got your clan, your family, your name, of course, which is kind of the identifier for the character. Then you choose your profession, which could be the Hime, the diplomat, the Buchi, the warrior, or the Chuhenya, the mage. And then you choose your clan. I got 6 different clans. Each of them is kind of unique. I'm not going to go deep into any single one of them. Just remember that there are 6 different ones there. So actually you can have, just for starters, in the core concept of the game, 18 different ways of play in between the 3 professions and the 6 clans. Of course, it's going to be interesting. And also you need to determine your Guni, which is the name of your party. And this is important because I want to create this feeling that all the samurai are going to be working together, or the noble ones, which are going to be the samurai as a class, they are going to be these tools designed intended to be working together as a teamwork. So you are actually always playing as a part of a team, not just an isolated character. And then you go with the precepts, which are actually the 6 main attributes, if you want. They are not the same as any other games, especially because since they are precepts, they are used more in a broad sense. So in most games, for example, you got one of the physical attributes, which could be your constitution for D&D, or could be your dexterity, or your agility, or your might, or whatsoever. In this case, I got one, which is mostly the physical one, which is you. And you is pretty much like the courage, like valor in itself, and you use that as a compelling force for actually moving when everyone else is kind of static. It's what makes the samurai be the leader in the times of need, and it's actually what propelled you into take physical actions. So yeah, as you can see, every single precept is a whole world if you want in itself. And the cool thing is there are no fixed roles. You actually can choose wherever precept you feel it's going to be the most appropriate for every single situation. So that's kind of a cool. Then of course you assign them in regards of different points and you choose the ones that you like the most. Then you choose the aspects, and this is another cool thing because it takes more your character with your world. So in the first part, you can pretty much say it's like, oh yeah, this is are the mechanics, clan, profession, name, wherever. Then you choose the preset, which are actually the things that tells you like who is your character or how you see your character behaving in the world, what you want your character to make. And then you go with the third one, which is time your character into the world and probably also into the whole scenario, party, game module, wherever you are going to play there. So it's called aspects. And the aspects are three, of course, main traits or aspects of your character that are going to be manifested through role playing. So they are not necessarily like backgrounds, just passive things that your character made in the past. They're actually traits that your character can manifest at any single point to receive more chances of success. In this case, you got the musubi, and the musubi is the trait but tied to your own clan. It's kind of the thing that ties your whole clan together. It's the trait, the aspect that everyone recognizes your clan for. Disregarding your profession, disregarding like your class, disregarding everything else, like the people from this clan got this different type of musubi. Then you got your giri is your loyalty, but it's kind of a more like your vocation. It's your call and how you serve your lord, your daimyo in this case, how you manifest that. So of course, when you are manifesting this trait of your loyalty, you are more prone to succeed instead of failure. And then you got your ninja. A ninja is your, like a human side, is your passion, but in a more visceral way. So in this case, it's not necessarily negative, but also it's not necessarily positive, because it's one more trait that defines kind of your character in a flow sense, but also that allows you to succeed. So for example, you could be a really kind of a brute person or a straightforward person. So your gear could be the leadership, but your ninja could actually be the might. And with the might as a trait, when you use the might for getting your means or what you want to achieve, actually you get the same benefit, but you see that using force or forcing everything is not necessarily a good way to do it. So the cool thing about this is you can use them to compel or to show your character better in terms of what are the things that drive them forward. And of course, they are valued differently. So the more personal, the more kind of intimate, the more deep or just kind of personal is the aspect that you are going to manifest. Of course, is going to be more powerful in a sense or more practical. I don't want to give you so many details because the game in itself could be overflowing with different mechanics, but hopefully this is going to be enough to having a little bit of an idea. Then of course you need to choose your skills, nothing too different here, just separate the skills in different categories, which are one for the different type of professions. So you got diplomatic skills or social skills. You got the martial skills, which are more like the combat-oriented ones, and of course I got mystical skills, which are more like the magical ones. And then I got the gear that whenever you can use a piece of gear, it's going to be an extra dice, which is kind of good, but it's a really simple thing. So my game is not intended to be focused on two items, mainly because since the core character of my game is actually the samurai, and the samurai is a vassal that is going to serve his lord. His lord is always is going to provide everything that they need. So actually that's a cool way to not even need to deal with money. And then you've got your honor. Honor is something that I'm still tweaking with. I don't know if I'm going to make your own pool of extra power or if it's going to be shared with all the members on your table. I like the second option because it's more collaborative and the player seems to like it, but this is one of the little things that need more testing because different tables are going to feel differently, and so far I think both of my tables are a little bit biased to play together. I want to go to more kind of a new people and let's see how they are going to feel about it. And then just for tweaking your character, you are going to have your virtues and defects. These are going to be tied more to not necessarily flaws on your character or kind of a superpower bonuses on your character that modifies your cheat, but mostly something that is going to be here, the space where you are going to have to do a little bit more like the background, and sometimes it's going to be important and sometimes it's not going to be that relevant. But yeah, that's kind of one of the things that I could swap entirely. Right now I got it thing in a way of virtues and defects, so you get good traits and bad traits, but probably it's going to be more tied later on with your lineage. And with that, actually got many different ideas, but that's going to be really at the end of the whole process. So that's kind of one half of the cheat. The other side is more of the conflict-oriented one. So when kind of a conflict erupts, you are actually going to swap your cheat, and then you are going to have masteries, which are pretty much the competencies where you are going to be fighting with. So of course you got the diplomatics, the martial, and the mystics. Then you got your resistances and your protections, which are kind of akin to your HP. Then you got your competencies, where actually, let's say, like your combat skills, and they are different than the skills that you learn on the other side because these are the ones that I can pretty much give you by your school. So I can assign you different sets without needing to tweak your character too much, and actually I can have your character separated in a way that it's going to always be balanced by the conflict, but also it could be way more overpowerful in the world. So I really love this because I don't need to make anything else with weird numbers and conversions. Like, for example, in D&D, really classic, like the languages are super useless most of the time, and for the same reason you got kind of a twice of the language skills than other type of skills. But because the game in itself acknowledges that these skills by mechanics are not useful, they kind of need to tweak or fix the system by giving you more. That way you feel like it's more balanced. And most of the players still think they are useless. So in this way, I kind of can avoid a lot of this type of mishaps in terms of the system, and I think it's really good. Then you get your specific gear for the combat. For example, for the martial classes are going to be the weapons, and then you get one of the coolest things that I got in the system, which are your powers. The powers are called kata, and a kata is kind of is the comprehension of a whole several techniques and movements and hoods and powers and wherever you wanna kind of a field here that are actually going to be your powers inside of the whole system. And the cool thing about this is you are going to have physically your kata in your game. So whenever you flip your character, because you are going to be going into a conflict, you're actually ready all of your kata, which are going to be in a card form, and they are going to be telling you how to play with each different class. And this was actually the one that I was testing thoroughly for these last couple of weeks, and actually the last testing were more polishings into this side. So you got a Buchi Kata, which is the starting one. And this is a card that actually is going to be flipped every single turn, or it's going to be straightened every single turn, I must say. But then if you bow it, you are actually going to deal damage, martial damage, of course, because you are a martial character, to your opponent. And it's kind of the only way to doing damage. So you got one card that does damage per turn, and then the way to interact with this is this card is telling you, you need to play for, if you want to deal damage, you need to play with this card. But also, this card is going to hold different type of tokens that actually are going to accumulate all the damage on your turn. And at the end of your turn, you can bow this card and kind of like a character in a movie or in a game video, all of the damage is going to pile up and is going to smash and hit your opponent. So the idea of playing with this card is actually telling you exactly this fantasy of the whole idea of the martial ones. And then how you gain these tokens, how you interact with this, how you interact with your rolls, with the dice that you are going to be having or not. It's actually how every single different, let's say, weapon school is going to be played with. So I think this was really, really good. The testing came really well together, and as you can see, it's a lot of work that I think it has been paid off. So, oh, like the light there. Hello. So yeah, as you can see, I can keep talking about my game for hours. Trust me, I have been spending more time here developing that. But yeah, so I don't want to go with that many crazy things. So this was like an overview of what I have been doing. Not specifically this last week actually, because this was really way more technical in terms of the combat. But hopefully you get more of an idea why I'm so invested into it. And trust me when I start talking about the lore of my world, kind of and the setting of the lands of Hinomoto, oh, you are going to love it. But yeah, that's going to be it for me today. This is going to be my style of Vaultcast. So I'm going to run a vault and I'm going to be talking about some stuff over. Pretty much probably is going to be my game. I'm going to try to make this once a month or something. So that way I can try to make a month of as a progress log. I got this kind of for my own, but maybe I'm going to try to mix these two together because remember that my priority for kind of this year actually is my game. So yeah, that way I'm going to kind of make these two things came together. As usual, of course, if you still got some questions about that, feel free to drop by on my Twitch because we are going to always be open there to talk about the game, even if we are not actually developing that. So yeah, pass there. And for the next week, probably we need to start tackling that boil, the Tenos, kind of underground. I don't know how I'm going to be called that part, but it's going to be under that Tenos pavilion. So see you there. Bye bye.